All right, guys, let's talk about the 4 elements of a perfect Facebook ad. And so this is going to be a very brief introduction, right? Because we're going to have an entire module about how to design absolutely fantastic Facebook ads, from everything that you'll possibly need, from the copy to the images to what to put in the images to, all the different types of psychological kind of cues and tricks and how to play into human emotion and, future pacing and things like that in a later module. But I want to introduce kind of the 4 elements that pretty much every Facebook ad needs to really be successful. Because these things, advertising, there's nothing new in advertising. Everything that's been invented, in 2018 already existed in 1940 and 1950, right? It just changes and is kind of reformulated and repackaged to be more up to date. And so the 4 elements of a perfect Facebook ad or Google ad or whatever ad is the following. The curiosity hook, right? A question, a story, really a strategy just to get them to pause even for a fraction of a second when they're scrolling in their Facebook feed, right? I see a lot of ads, and I've used a lot of ads myself, that start with wait, right? Because wait is just kind of plays into human emotion. When you see wait or you hear it, right? You pause and you look and you stop even for a fraction of a second. If you can get somebody to stop scrolling, right? Because a lot of Facebook activity is very mindless and passive and kind of on autopilot. If you can get someone to even break kind of that habituation that they are in when they're actually browsing through their Facebook feed, even for a fraction of a second, you win, right? So if you start your ad with wait, right? And you can even use like a fire emoji or the exclamation point emojis or the warning sign emoji. Those all work fantastic. We're going to talk about emojis, and we're going to go much deeper into this, but I just want to introduce it because I think it's very, very exciting. What is the difference between millionaires and the impoverished? Sometimes it boils down to one simple decision, right? So we've done 2 things here. We've convinced them to break their habits of just kind of the autopilot scroll, and we've gotten them to pause for even a fraction of a second. And then we're saying, what is the difference between millionaires and the impoverished, right? And so if I'm asking this specific question, it's because I'm targeting people who are interested in working for themselves or getting rich or having financial freedom, right? This is not just like a random question. This is a question that's very targeted to the people that I'm going to actually show this ad to. And so I've done 2 things. I've broken their habit. I'm kind of their autopilot scroll, and then I'm asking them a question that's very targeted and that they are curious to know the answer to, right? What is that one simple decision that actually is the difference between millionaires and the impoverished, excuse me, right? So the curiosity hook is a fantastic element that every Facebook ad could use to become a better one. Emotional future pacing, right? How much better will they personally feel with your amazing product or service, right? Have you ever seen a beautiful house or car and thought to yourself, how can they afford that in today's economy? Why can't I have those things too? You can see yourself driving in a brand new sports car, never having any more worries about money for the rest of your life, right? And so if you can get people to actually picture how much better their life is going to be with your product or service, it is seriously such a powerful tool, right? What could you do with an extra $1,000 a day? How would your life change? Like, what would you be able to do for your family? Like, would your family's life change? Would your wife be happier? Getting people to actually picture what they could actually get, how they feel, they can imagine it and picture it and feel it, right? That is when you've won the advertising game. If you can really make them put themselves in their shoes, in a future state with how better their life is going to be with your product or service. A time-sensitive call to action, right? Today only, price raises tomorrow. These are things that are kind of cliche, like scarcity, that not everybody wants to kind of interact with or use in their marketing campaigns. But these things have become stereotypes for a reason, guys. It's because they just work, right? I'm a marketer, basically. I'm a professional marketer, and even still, like if I am browsing a page and I see a countdown timer or I see price raises tomorrow, I still have those like fleeting moments where I'm like, oh, I should probably just do this now. And I'm a professional marketer, and I know and analyze these things every single day of my life, right? These things work. And not taking advantage of it, is just going to be a detriment to your business, right? So if you deserve the good life and want to learn how to completely change your situation at any time by knowing 3 simple things, then click the Learn More button below right now before we close our completely free training forever, right? And so this is doing a couple things, 3 simple things. So people love, numbered lists. People want to know what these 3 simple things are. If there's one thing that is the most powerful aspect of all of marketing, it's curiosity. Human beings are so curious instinctually by nature. Have you ever been with a friend and they say, I wanted to talk to you about something, and it just drives you freaking crazy, right? And it drives me crazy too. I have to know what people want to talk to me about. If my girlfriend, for example, says like, Kevin, we need to talk, right? Like that drives me crazy. And it's not just me. It's because people are similar and people are naturally curious. It's what's driven us, to create amazing things with science. It's what's driven us, across the ocean, even when like modern day ships didn't exist. Human curiosity is intrinsic, it is instinctual, and it's the most powerful driving force in marketing. And so, click the learn more button below right now before we close our completely free training forever, right? People hate ultimatum. People hate finality. People, if something's closing tomorrow forever, then people are gonna, take the extra effort to join it now because it's the last time that they can ever do it. So visuality, in today's world, there's so many advertisements that if you don't have, a pristine, high quality, HD video or image with, beautiful font, if there's any type of like granularity or something is wrong, or it's poor quality, or it's just, not colorful, or whatever it is, you've already lost. There's too many alternatives to have low quality advertisements, to have low quality landing pages, right? You have to make everything high quality because in today's world, everything's digitized, right? And so bright, eye-catching colors that include people. People like seeing people. That's why, use examples. Start to become a researcher. Don't just be an observer. When you're watching a Coca-Cola commercial, think about what you're seeing, right? You're seeing beautiful, smiling women with, ice cold looking Coca-Colas that like have that crisp crack when they open, and like it's a happy family, and they're really personifying and showing the things that everyone associates with Coca-Cola: family, happiness, love, right? These things like just pop up in my mind because Coca-Cola has been pounding me with advertisements for years to make me associate Coca-Cola with those things. Beautiful women. Again, it's not sexist at all. I'm not trying to be, gender misogynist, anything like that. Sex sells, beautiful women sell. It's just you can either accept it or you cannot accept it, and that's obviously your choice. But a smiling, beautiful woman makes people stop and makes people actually, even for a fraction of a second, which is all you need, take a second glance at your ad, and that means you've won, right? And so smiling, beautiful people, smiling, beautiful women, eye-catching colors, right? Beautiful font that in a very simple or curiosity-invoking way kind of shows, what the ad is actually going to be about, guys. So the next thing I want to talk about is cold traffic. So this is kind of another piece of Facebook advertising vocabulary that you need to understand. Cold traffic, just think about it like it's a person walking on the street that you've never seen before in your life, you've never talked to, you've never interacted with. This is the first time that they have ever heard about you or your brand or your product or your service, right? So cold traffic is the hardest traffic to convert, and that's when you really have to be on your A game. You have to have all the highest quality things. You have to hook people's interest in. You have to hook them in. You have to break their habits of scrolling, right? Cold traffic is definitely the most difficult, but it's also one of the most important because it's how you expand your audience beyond kind of, just the purview of people who've already expressed interest in your audience some way. Cold traffic is much more about tapping into consumer psychology and really understanding your market as a whole, kind of through trial and error. Again, test, lots of different images. I would never in a million years think that I'd be able to, convert cold traffic if I tested one image, or I tested one audience, or I tested one interest or demographic or behavior. And we're going to go very, very deep into how to split test the right way. But cold traffic is all about trial and error, and it's about putting yourself and really understanding who your perfect customer is and who kind of getting into the mindset and getting into the shoes of that customer, right? Trustworthiness is a great example of something that you absolutely have to have when you're converting cold traffic. If somebody comes to your website and they see something that's not, professional, or it doesn't have the basics, right? Use Amazon for example. Amazon is a great example. I mean, they already have the brand presence, but use popular Shopify stores like Kylie Jenner's Shopify store, for example. It has statements of benefits and features. It has beautifully optimized images. It has a very sleek kind of user experience on both desktop and mobile. There's tons of reviews and social proof, right? And the number of steps needed to make a purchase is as low as possible. If you have to add a product to a cart and then you have to click add to cart button and then you have have to go to your cart, and then you have to, do all of these different steps. It lowers conversion. So making as few steps as possible, eliminating as much friction as possible to actually making the purchase will get you guys so much more conversions when it comes to cold traffic. So warm traffic is actually, obviously a little bit warmer. This is somebody who you interacted with before. Maybe they've looked at your Facebook page. Maybe they've heard about you on YouTube. Maybe they've read a blog post. They've interacted with you. You have a little bit of touch points. You have a little bit of interaction with them in some way. Maybe they don't know you necessarily by name, but they say, oh yeah, I've heard of Kevin David. I saw that one YouTube video, 10 months ago. That's why I recognize him from. Warm traffic is so much easier to convert, and that's why, right, all of these things play into each other, guys. None of this is mutually exclusive. That's why the value ladder, that's why giving away free value is so important, because people recognize you. They're like, oh, yeah, I remember that. I watched that Facebook video that he put out, and it was so, it was so much value. I love that he gave that all away for free, and I downloaded his cheat sheet, and it was awesome, and it helped me, sell a bunch more of my products, right? And so that is what warm traffic is. And how we capture warm traffic is through custom audiences, right? We create custom audiences of people who've interacted with our Facebook page, or custom audiences of people who've given us their emails, right? All of these different types of ways that people can interact with us. Custom audiences is how we actually retarget them, and retargeting and selling something to somebody who's already heard of you is so much easier, guys. So that's warm traffic, cold traffic, and the 4 elements of a perfect Facebook ad. And again, we're gonna go so much deeper into exactly how to write copy, how to make amazing images that work. We're gonna talk about human psychology and so much more, guys. But that was just a little introduction to the 4 elements of perfect Facebook ads and cold and warm traffic. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and let's get to the next one.